Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Empower Your Career live talk, brought to you by Empowerment and Empower Amsterdam, a social enterprise that helps professionals develop in their career, whether they are employed or unemployed. This live talk, Empower Your Career, meets twice a month to discuss different ways to develop your career, from starting your own business to getting promotions at work or even getting back into the workforce. This month's theme is Achieving Clarity, and today we're going to discuss career clarity. When it comes to your career, sometimes we're not sure of the direction and you don't know if you want to change industry or pick up a new skill or just stay where you are because it's all fine. And in 2020, we had a lot of time to think about it. So how would you get clarity on your career? This is what we will explore today with the coaches from Empower Amsterdam. They'll share their own personal journey with clarity and how they advise their clients on seeing the path ahead. My name is Angèle Bar, and I'm a life and career coach and Pilates teacher. And I believe in the wisdom of the body, and I help parents who work for multinationals to achieve balance. I will be your moderator tonight, and I'm really interested in this topic because I myself had a career change a few years back when I was suffering from RSI. And being a coach became very clear to me. And my wish for people is really to be present in their body. I really love the panel that we have today, and I really couldn't resist to moderate this. These are my friends and coach from Empower Amsterdam. And well, if you're watching us live, feel free to leave your comments in the chat. I'll try to get to them during or after the conversation, and we'll talk about it with the speakers. So now let me introduce you to Andries Rosen, and a coach, facilitator, and consultant. Also, we have Jean-Christophe. He's a transformational coach, facilitator, and author. And we have Lisa Ross-Marcus as well, leadership coach for women and intercultural consultant. So I would like you guys sort of to introduce briefly who you are, and then we'll go and get to the first question. So maybe we can start, I don't know, Jean-Christophe.
So I am Jean-Christophe. I coach people to help them be back in touch with their essence, with their being. And from that place of being, they usually change their life, and the doing is unfolding. That's why I'm a transformation coach. I need to go deep to reconnect people with the being. And my clients tend to be professionals who along the way kind of got lost in life. And I guide them back home.
Yeah. Lisa, you want to tell us a little bit who you are? Introduce yourself.
Yes, sure. Hi, I'm Lisa, and I coach people often in the area of leadership. I'm drawn very much to coaching women leaders to help them really step up and own their full talents in organizations. I also do work with men as well, often in conjunction with leadership programs to help the participants to really solidify what they've learned. My background is also in communication training as a corporate communication trainer. And I'm also an intercultural consultant, which means that I help business executives to prepare for assignments in new cultures. And I'm quite specialized in Dutch and American culture. I've been working for Empower Amsterdam for about a year. And so I've really opened up my focus to supporting expats with all kinds of career questions as well. And I'm really enjoying it.
Great. Thank you. And Andries.
Thank you, Anne. Andries van Rozen. I'm a coach with Empower. I've been with Empower Amsterdam for 3 years now, with great pleasure and enjoy it a lot. We have a team of 50 people, which is tremendous, and we do a lot of nice and good work. And we have great teams and colleagues. I'm a facilitator in many ways, as in if I do my work in companies, but I also bring people to nature to connect or reconnect them to nature and see what that brings in terms of purpose. And also a consultant helping large corporates in transformations or change management programs to help the people going in a direction what is desired of the company, but then bringing them into contact on a deeper level at a leadership level to bring them to the next stage.
Okay, great, thank you. And so, Andries, would you be able to tell us a bit more about your journey and how did you get to this change in your career?
Yeah, well, that's a very nice question, because my transformation, but also clarity, was quite tremendous. I've been I worked with PwC for 16 years in all kinds of different ways at a great time. And after 16 years, it was time to move on. And at that moment, I took probably an unconscious decision to take a timeout. And in that timeout, what I did in terms of gaining clarity, because the clarity what I had was education, university, a lot of brain development in terms of working in the corporate world. But that was a clear moment. Then I started thinking, probably there's more. And then I started thinking about my heart, my guts, my soul. And I started reading all kinds of different books that I haven't read before. Being aware that I took taking a time out, but I thought, well, if I have the time, and I had the time available, I also had the resources available to do it. I just spent a lot of time on exploring new things, and with my brain being trained, but being other parts being trained, that gave me a lot of clarity and new insights in terms of what I wanted to do. So there are some similarities in things that I currently still do, if you compare it to what I did at PwC, but I do it in a completely different way. And that is being really, really nice journey. So that's been from reading spirituality, going on trail to nature, backpacking, sleeping under the stars between the big five, doing a reading and healing education, all kinds of different family constellations, all kinds of stuff in terms of which I hadn't done before, and which gain a lot of clarity. That it's the total package that gives me a lot of clarity instead of one. I think that is really nice, and that's what I can integrate now in what I do as work, as a coach, as a volunteer, as a family man. We have a house of 4 people with Yvonne and my 2 boys, and that's also changed significantly to that career change. Nice. So maybe that's good for a start.
Thank you. So Lisa, I see you're nodding, so maybe you want to share a bit more about.
I can very much relate to what Andries is saying in terms of what I'm experiencing at this point in my life as well. This urge to take time for personal reflection and growth and slow down and connect with nature. However, what I would really like to share about my own career is going back in time. I've been an expat for 40 years, and I've had several different careers along the way. And I'd like to share a few of the things I learned that helped me get clear at different junctures, very much related to understanding the context I was navigating in as an expat and often on my own. So there's a few lessons I'd like to share. And the first one is, well, when I came to Europe, and I first was in Paris and I came to Amsterdam, I had a completely solid career for me already, ready-made career. I was a dancer, choreographer, performer, creator of my own work. And being an outsider at that time was an asset, especially in the Netherlands, because at that time, everybody wanted to know, oh, what does an American have to share? Because there was so much going on in the arts there. So I had a fantastic career for 13, 14 years. And then at a certain point, the sun set on that career in the performing arts. And I found myself in the Netherlands on my own and saying, wow, what's next? And so on the one hand, it was a huge identity change for me, a career shift. I was used to being on stage and having a big spotlight on me and just seeing a lot of people in the dark, in the distance, who were clapping for me. And so I was getting a lot of positive reinforcement all the time. And then suddenly I had to navigate in Dutch society, and I wasn't special anymore. I was just like everybody else. So in order to find my footing and get clear about, yeah, what do I need to do, or what's the meaning of all this for me? One of the first things I understood very clearly was that I was living in a context where nobody had known me when I was growing up. And so that meant I had no school friends, I had no family, and no friends of family. And so not only for, let's say, emotional support, but when we talk about career, it was not a network that I could rely on, that you can sort of check in with your old school friend or your old teacher or a family friend to ask about some career advice or make a connection. That was all absent. So I needed to create my own network. And the thing I did was I just told everybody that I was looking for something new to do and that I really needed to make money right away. And I kept spreading the word. And then finally one day somebody said to me, oh, I know an architect who's looking for an office manager. And I thought, oh, okay, I'll figure out what that is one day. And I went and I had an interview, and by some miracle, I got the job. I couldn't really speak Dutch. I could barely turn on a computer. But I was in an environment where somebody gave me a chance. And I built on that chance by learning on the job and learning to navigate with other Dutch people. And after 3 months, I had an evaluation with him, and I said, look, I think I get it. I'm sure you want to fire me. I still don't know how to use Excel. My Dutch is terrible. And he said, no, I want to actually give you a promotion. All that stuff you can learn as you go. But what I want is someone with personality and presence in my office. That's what I need here. And so I ended up staying and learning so much that really helped me get my feet on the ground here. And what I took away from it, and also tried to share with my coachees, is this idea of, you don't have a ready-made network, so you need to create that. You need to talk to everybody and let them know that you're looking for something, even if you don't know what it is. And also to recognize there are people out there that will give you a chance. It's not just your CV and the information on it. There's much more to it.
So I'm hearing a lot of things, like also like courage, but also like building on network, and also like following that chance a little bit. Like
taking the chance to try something you have no idea about. This is what I did, and then could build on that.
Cool. What about you, Jean-Christophe? Can you tell us a little bit more about your journey as well?
Yes, of course. To provide maybe some context about clarity and the theme of tonight, I like to share my experience, which is really a fight between the heart and the mind, which has been a feature of my career. And I think it started 20 years ago, where after 5 years working as an engineer in France, and having been for 5 years in a commuting relationship with my wife, always in different countries, we said, well, when are we ever going to try to start a family together? And of all places, we decided to do that in New Zealand. So I left my job and I became a house husband. We moved to New Zealand. And in New Zealand, I became a nobody going nowhere, and it was completely liberating for me. I started to surf. I started to read a lot of spirituality, like you, Andres, and I started coaching. I discovered the world of coaching. So I had a coach. He was in America, and the more I was speaking to that guy, the more I said to myself, "This is me. I am that guy. He's simply 20 years older than I am, but I am that guy. That's what I want to do." And then there was a huge fight in me. There was like a longing for my being to say, wow, you don't know much about that profession. It was early 2000. I mean, it was completely emerging. It was like, I don't even know how to explain that to my parents, but I want to become a coach. My being trained in the French education system and looking for elitism said, no, you're going to do a career in a big corporation. I lost that first fight. I joined a big corporation, which was Shell at the time. I made 3 kids. We started to have an expat life. We lived in many different countries. And there was like a fight in myself. I was starting to manage teams. And every time I was volunteering, can I get an internal coaching training? And I became like, this manager coach. But then I was torn because I wanted to kind of coach my people on their life, on existential issues, where what was expected of me was to coach them on KPIs and low-level skills they need to improve for the next promotion. And I felt completely, at a cross. At a cross, my mind was saying, it makes sense, you do your coaching, but it's internally. But I knew it was not satisfying. It's not what I wanted to do. And then life maybe cared for me so much that 7 years ago, he decided to give me a lesson because I was such a slow learner. And my wife got diagnosed with a life-threatening condition. And for 3 years, I took care of her. And living on the edge of treatment for leukemia, I completely depleted myself. I went through the fire. I gave it all. I read about selflessness. Now I experienced it to the point where at the end of the 3 years, there was nothing left in me except my heart. And my mind had been so humbled that there was no fight anymore. The heart made it very simple to leave my company, to go back to university, to study neuroscience, psychology, to become a certified coach, and to realize that when you go through the fire, what is left cannot be burned. And in my case, it was la joie de vivre, the spark, and I decided to become the spark that brings people back to their glow. Because we all glow. We just forget along the way, as I did. And this is what brought me to coaching. And this is what brought me to transformation coaching. To go to the level where the light is coming back in people, to switch them on again. And when I see them, I know why I am on this planet, here and now, getting more of them to glow together.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. So I'd like to explore a follow-up question, a second question, So guys, you've been through this career change or career changes for some of us,
Yeah.
And I would like to know how in your job, because we are all coaches here, like how in your jobs do you actually help people to go through that, to help them get that clarity?
So something maybe is that I have illustrated with my story is at times we can be really in confusion because different aspects of ourselves want different things. But in fact, they're looking at the same situation from a different perspective. And I think a key part of coaching is to broaden the perspective of the client, to take them from a higher viewpoint so they can see the bigger picture. And they can make the space to integrate these different parts of themselves, heart and mind, and to find peace in doing so.
Hmm. Hmm. I think for me, a lot of it has to do with really focusing and being clear again about like what is makes sense for me right now in my life, what is happening in the here and now. Because what I often encounter with coachees is that they're still having expectations of something that happened in the past in the now. Especially people who've taken time off for a while, maybe to raise a family or to switch cultures. And they say, oh, I want to go back to work. And they're expecting to have the same type of job, the same type of income, the same type of social life, when actually so many things have changed in their life over time. And so it's really about recalibrating ideas about yourself and who you are, to say, hey, what makes sense for the here and now? And one of the things that comes up often is there's this drive to have the next big important career step. You know, this is going to be my next big meaningful thing that I do. And sometimes, again, looking at, you know, what's the context, what's the situation that you're operating in? Does this need to be tweaked? Do you need to take more time? But it also sometimes to say, hey, maybe just take one small step first. Maybe try something new, try something you never did before. It doesn't have to mean this is the whole identity of my life, but it's more to just be comfortable with trying something in the here and now that's different. And that's a way to kind of get liberated from all these sort of different expectations and comparisons. I love the Zen saying that the comparing mind creates suffering. And I sense that a lot with people going back into the workplace or trying to get a new career, to just be in touch with yourself and what makes sense for you right now.
Yeah, I usually tell my clients that it's something that they need to feel in their body. For me, it's really about like, okay, how do you feel resonance is with your next step or not? And I'm curious to know what are your thoughts, Andries, as well, on how do you help people?
Yeah, the first thing that came up for me is trying to get at the right frequency. Is like listening to a radio. If you're with someone new, with a new person, you're two different individuals. And as a coach, but as a consultant, doesn't matter, as a human being, in order to connect, you need to go a little bit of a frequency that you can understand each other. Because I can be at a total different frequency than the other person. And I think that is fundamental to start and to start moving. And I like the exploring part, which Jean-Christophe explained in terms of, as a coach, you can give a lot of support in terms of people opening up to all kinds of different ideas and old thoughts that they had in the past. For me, what I do, and that is always the word coaching is always a very challenging word for me, because I think what I do, to be open, I think counseling, mentoring, and coaching at the same time. It depends on what's there and what's required, because what I always do is go to the question behind the question. And sometimes it needs a story, or it needs a personal journey, like Lisa explaining her story. listening to her story, that's already very inspiring, and that makes new things in me resonate, appear. And I think that is where I want to go. And the coachee, the person I'm working with, or the client that I'm working with, is determining the direction. The only thing is that sometimes it's up to me to support a little bit, to give either other directions or to move the direction a bit. And that sometimes means that I go in a direction which I feel might not be the right direction, but it's also about timing. It's everybody has his own timing and journey. And I explained that last. I don't know if you recognize that, Lisa and Jean-Christophe, even on that sometimes a coachee is going in a direction and you're like, okay, maybe that's the direction, and you go, and at a certain point it's, well, maybe there are other options. Maybe and if I'm really honest, if I go to my heart, Jean-Christophe, if I really go to my heart, if I'm really honest, maybe this is where I want to go. And that is one of the most beautiful moments. If you see a twinkling in the eyes, that people say, well, I've been going for the career, but at a certain moment that you see a different state of being. And yeah, that is beautiful.
It's like a different energy.
Yeah.
Well, I think especially what I do find interesting is the people we see in Empower usually come to the Netherlands. They find it's difficult to find a job. They used to have a reasonably good career overseas. And there is a little bit of, oh my God, I feel trapped. I don't understand. What was successful for me before is no longer there. The victimhood is starting to creep in, a little bit of a sense of panic. And what I really try to do, and I mean, Einstein talked about that. He said, you cannot solve a problem at the same level of awareness that this problem was created in the first place. So one of the first questions I ask these people is, I really hold the space for them to say, why is that happening for you? Not why is that happening to you, but could you be curious? What could it be? And all of a sudden you start to open the door of curiosity, which is, being a victim in that situation is one of the many choices. What else? And I think we have a duty as coach to more than bring some tactical solution and spend all our time on CV review and some tips. It's more about helping people to tap again into their creativity and resourcefulness. Because they are tremendously resourceful. They have been in the past. They simply find themselves in a new situation. And most of the time it's, I don't like that new situation. But unless they connect with it, they will not see what is possible. And that's, I think, our first job with a coaching.
What I hear in what you're saying with both Andres and Jean-Christophe is a question of perspective. So what I'm hearing a little bit the commonality of the theme. And I'd like maybe for you to share a bit more. I think you already did a little bit, but what was your haha moment where you knew, okay, well, that's it, that's the moment I need to do that change,
I would love to share another career I had before I became a coach to illustrate this. And that is, and it's also something that I try to encourage my coachees, and it builds a little bit on what you guys just both said about sort of, I can't remember the word you use, kind of resonance or awareness, but this idea of sort of having your antenna out all the time. I was at another point, and I was unemployed from another job. I had unemployment benefits. I was pregnant and I was about to get married. And so I was planning my wedding. And I was noticing that it was actually quite a creative endeavor. And it had a lot of similarities to creating a theater or dance performance, like costumes, decor, music, publicity, strong emotions. on the premiere. And I was thinking, how do people do this if they have to work, if they have a job? It takes so much time and so much energy, and it's so creative. And I was thinking, why isn't there someone to help me do this? And I saw there was a need that I had, but nobody was there to fill it. So I got married, and after I decided I was ready to work again, I started one of the first wedding planning companies in the Netherlands. And it was a way, the thing that it really brought together for me as a kind of aha moment was this using my skills, transferring my skills from when I had been in theater to a business setting. And just kind of recognizing this is a time to do this. So also, without really having any experience, I had never even been to a wedding except for my own, which I will admit now. I had to just learn everything by sneaking into churches to look at weddings, and built up a company, which I then sold after 5 years. But it was a great kind of feeling to just bring together all these parts of me in this moment and help other people with it.
If I may build on what Lisa is saying, because I partially agree. I think in a way what we show tonight, Audrey's, Lisa, and myself, it's almost like it's not we understood we had to do something else, we just knew. There was this almost an awakening, like really strong alignment, resonance, but it's not always happening like this. I also see a lot of coachees who are just hoping that one day they're going to wake up and they're just going to know. I think it's a combination between also creating the condition for experimentation, for being out there, having an experience of it, linking with people who are doing it. So it's a bit of a processing in the background, but getting to smell the place, getting to know a little bit the field. And then maybe at some stage, the transformation process can happen, and one day you just know. It's simply like, the mind is like breaking all the barriers, and it's just like, it's being humbled. And it's not like if you don't do preparation work. It's not like one day you're just going to wake up and say, I have a purpose. I know it. A purpose is something which is shaped by life. Give yourselves the opportunities for being shaped.
Yeah, I so agree with that. Sorry, I just want to just dovetail on that, is that exactly that it's so important to build in the ability to just circulate and be curious and sort of sniff around. And I find often that coachees think they should already know everything. And of course, that's an impossible assignment. And so part of what I try to do as a coach is to cultivate this feeling of, no, let's look around. Let's take some time. Let's have those antennae out. See what I pick up on that can help me to grow into understanding what it is that I am going to do or want to do.
Yeah, and even so, in line with both of you, what my experience was in 2018. Of course, I had many different experiences, but this one is really nice. And I was in Imvolozi Game Reserve in South Africa, on a rock in wilderness, between rhinos, lions, and all kinds of beautiful animals. And I was sitting at the riverside, and I really connected to Earth and really connected to myself. And at that moment, I knew, I just felt that this is something I want. In that state, I wanted to be in more. And being in that state more is also what I do in the Netherlands, because you don't need to go to South Africa to be connected to Earth. But what I really, what changes my frequency, which I talked about earlier, my frequency changed, and that also is out there, and I get other people who come to me as a consultant, but also as a coach. So, and being open for that, that is really beautiful. So really looking at what is happening around me. I also did a talk on intentions. So basically based on an intention and basing on the state of being, I just see around me different things. And that is really a differentiator in terms of doing my life, but also doing my work. So it's highly connected for me.
Yeah.
So there is a notion of pausing as well.
A notion of pausing, a notion of being. So it is something like you make a shift yourself, and I don't know why, I don't know how, well, maybe a little bit, but people pick it up. I get different questions. People ask me if I want to coach them. Before that, probably also people have asked, or almost, but I haven't seen it or wasn't open to it. And now it changed, and now it comes. Just being aware of it.
If I was going to kind of wrap everything we've been saying, I think on the topic of clarity, it's a situation which is happening outside for the person looking for a job. First, you have to broaden the different perspectives that we talked about. There is more than one perspective on anything which is happening. And a question like, why is that happening for you, is an important one. Then it's also to realize that inside, you're made of many different parts. You're not one. And this is what is creating the confusion. The body is relating to the situation very differently from the mind, from the narratives that you have, the automatic thoughts. And confusion is coming when you don't want to connect with maybe this internal tension. Because that internal tension means there is not yet alignment. And what it takes is to bring awareness, to create that pause that Andres was talking about, easing into the being where you say, okay, I'm going to hear the whole of you, and I'm not going to take side for now. I'm not going to judge or try to dismiss or say this is not me. No, I'm just going to hear that cacophony. And out of that noise, the symphony will be created, because we are in the business of creating inner alignment. And I think that's where sometimes you need a coach to be able to bring all these different noise into a beautiful sound. Yeah. So both internally and externally, clarity is about pausing, bringing awareness, being curious, non-judgmental, and letting come. Yeah. So you can fall to the formlessness of all this emotional world.
Yeah, and I think so. Thank you very much. I think your summary was amazing, and I think other things I picked up as well was like build on that chance as well. You know, like also learn as you go. I'm repeating what you said, but like being very curious, be in the moment, and be open for what is there. Yeah, and I think take some time to really make that change. And it's not like you were saying, Jean-Christophe, that one day you wake up and suddenly you have an illumination and you know what you want to do. It's like bit by bit meeting a different kind of people that you realize, oh, yeah, I kind of like this, or somebody else, oh, I kind of like this. And then suddenly the pieces of the puzzle are put together. And then, you know, the clarity is there. And yes, having a coach helps that process, I guess.
And I think what is nice, I think to phrase it a bit in a different way, is because I can also imagine that there are people here listening to this and say, that's really nice, take time out and you have the resources and yeah, whatever, and go sit on a rock and have different careers like Lisa. And everybody has all the, and they say, yeah, but I don't have the time, I don't have the resources, I need a job now. And so make a little bit of an instrumental sidestep to try to make my point is you need to slow down in order to speed up. So let's say if you're in a Formula 1 car and you do your pit stop too quick and you have only 3 wheels, probably you will drive, but not as fast as you could. And I think that is always also a challenge for a coach, in order to get across together in terms of that you really need to address the current issues, so the real issues, and also taking a step back in order to grow and to go where you want to go. As an example, what I sometimes do is somebody is really in panic. I say, I need a job because I need to pay the rent. I'm here. You're a foreigner. You don't have any escape. I said, just pick a job because you need the money. But then still we're going on a path in terms of where you want to go. And that brings also a lot of clarity, and because sometimes it's not easy to get clarity if you're under extreme pressure.
Yeah.
So, Andres, I fully agree with you. I mean, a lot of people are on survival mode, and when you're on survival mode, you have a really high cortisol level. You're under stress. What cortisol does to us when we're under stress, we have a tunnel vision. We don't see perspective. It's not the way we've been designed to deal with survival situations. So I fully agree with you. And a few times I've also said to a coachee, pick up a job. So you can create some psychological safety, but what is unreasonable is to expect you to find purpose, fulfillment, the perfect job in the survival mode you're in now.
Yeah.
You need to slow down by getting a job, and then we can do the work. Because you don't want to be on survival mode all your life.
Yeah.
But first things first. You will not get the cortisol down with a purpose discussion on the rock, for sure. Not for long. Yeah. So that's where we have to use judgment, but at the same time, you don't need a coach to find a job in a supermarket. That's however, as a first step, do this, and then we can work on what you really want. But what you need right now is a job at a supermarket.
Yeah. That's what I was referring to when I said also about being in the here and now. Like, what do you need right now? And if it is indeed just get a job in the supermarket just to give you some rest, so then you can still then focus on looking at the bigger picture of things and not thinking, oh, this job in the supermarket is defining my whole life. It's just a little step to open a door for more exploration.
So maybe I'd like to see if there are any questions, because I mean I was asking Ineke, but maybe is there any questions, Ineke? Maybe for us.
No questions.
No
Everybody's listening.
Everybody is completely clear. There is clarity about what to do to change career, I suppose.
Will be completely clear or completely irrelevant. It could be one of the two.
So, well, so what I would like you to do, I would like to invite the participants and the people that are going to view the replay, to still ask questions, on the thread. We will have a look at it, and we can always come back to it. And yes, I would like to really also so the next show will be on December 16, where the founders of Empower Amsterdam will share their reflections on 2020. I'm guessing it's going to be super interesting. And I hope you will join us. And yeah, so I think it was fantastic evening. We had a lot of ideas there. So what the things I have a full page of things that we said, but I think what I will remember is I think the heart and mind, the being curious, and also like building on that chance and taking that moment to pause, but also don't hesitate to do the right thing. So maybe grabbing that job that really gives you the peace of mind, to be able to have that space to think about your next move.
What I take away is I want to dance with Lisa and sit on the rock with Andres.
All right.
Great,
Sounds good.
Yeah. So that's great. Thank you very much, guys. I think Ineke will put us off live, and we can